that too much?
No, that was keep going, man. Keep going. Pump it up.
Yeah. We are super duper ultra pumped today. Our guest is someone who I can speak for Ryan, I think, here, and myself.
Please do.
This guest has blown our minds on so many occasions. It's too many to count. This is somebody who is deep into the mystical side of life, energy work, astrology, witchy cool stuff. And she is also an Omi. She's a longtime Omi of the show.
One of the very first in our Discord.
Oh, yeah.
One of the very first.
Like OG, like super OG. So everybody from wherever you're viewing this, give a round of applause to Rose Quartz.
Hello.
Welcome onto the show, Rose. We're so excited.
Oh, me too. Thank you for having me on. Oh, can't wait.
It is our pleasure, 100%. And I wanted to start with like a little story. So when you first joined our Discord, I quickly noticed a lot of astrology talk, which honestly, back when you first joined the Discord, I was like not super scrubbed up on my astrology, like whatsoever. But my wife is into it, so we did my chart, and then I think I did one with Ryan. I'm pretty sure we did like a chart together, and it was just kind of like an entry level basic sort of chart. But then you put a message in the Discord and said, like, does anybody want me to do their astrology? And I was like, yeah, I want my astrology done by somebody who actually knows like how to do it. And you did it, and it was so comprehensive. It was shocking how much it resonated with me. Like every single subcategory, every section, every placement, like what you wrote about. And we hadn't really talked very much at this point, we didn't know each other super well, but I mean, it was like you were inside of my head, and you saw my entire life and wrote about it. So I'm gonna get into actually some notes that I took
Yes.
when you sent me that. But first, I would love to ask, how did you get into this kind of stuff? Not just astrology, but the energy work and everything else as well.
Yeah. First of all, I'm so happy to hear all of that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It really, for me, I was a really lucky kid because I grew up in an environment with my mom where this was always kind of floating around, specifically like energy work and just belief in the other, that there's more to life than what meets the eye. And we would be tucked into bed at night. My mom would teach us, okay, now envision yourself being enveloped in white light and say this prayer, and we would go, white light surrounds us, protects us from harm, and we just like repeat that mantra as little kids. So
whoa,
super lucky to not have to have religious programming that kind of cuts people off from that. So it kind of makes it a little easier for me to kind of naturally be inclined to these types of studies.
Yeah.
Me and my sister, we'd make, offerings to fairies in the woods, like smashing up mushrooms and making little pies for them, things like that.
Yo, that's so cool.
Yeah. And it's always just been super encouraged. And I did go through a period of time where, I had like an atheist angsty period in my young teens, but it always comes back, and
it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, we all go there.
Yeah.
We've all had that phase.
I unfortunately fortunately never went there, but yeah, it happens to us.
Yeah.
I went there.
And
yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets real edgy, and you feel like you know everything, and then you find out you know nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and just over time, I've slowly developed my own practice. I don't have certifications in astrology. It's just kind of like a hobby of mine. And a lot of it just relies on my intuition. I do have some formal schooling from the Boulder Psychic Institute.
Oh,
Shout out
whoa.
BPI.
Let's go. Shout out.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. By the way,
they're fantastic.
Too early, but now that Dad's book is out, he's been he just got back from a con a few days ago, and there's some center out of Boulder that specifically has requested for me and Dad to head out that way. They want us to do some sort of book signing type deal in Boulder, and my dad's trying to negotiate it for like me, my mom, my wife, and I to go. So definitely have to coordinate on that. But you're in Boulder.
Find me. I'm in Denver.
You will find me. Okay.
Make it happen.
That was a command. Yeah, that was a command.
Yeah, that felt like a spell a little bit. You will find me. That's great.
Yeah. I'm down in Denver, but I have, it's very easy. It's like a 30-minute drive to Boulder.
Cool.
I'll zip right up there.
If I end up going to Boulder, we'll definitely let you know. My wife was looking you up today to like get all your information to send you stuff, and she's like, "Oh my God, she's so cute."
Oh my gosh. You too, Jenny. I saw her follow me on Instagram, and I followed her back. I was like, "This is the best."
You're part of the fam. You're part of the fam. You're in the.
Oh my gosh.
Now.
So what's the deal with BPI? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, they're a psychic institute. It's run by a woman called Miwa Mack, and they do energy training and psychic training. And it's in all different kinds of levels, from entry level all the way up to, trance mediumship, where you're actually out of your body doing, energy work in all different realms. So I haven't gotten that far into their programming, but many of my friends have, and it's actually connected me with a lot of my very close friends. And it's a funny story because before I moved out here, I used to live in New Hampshire. And the month before I moved to Denver, I went to a drum circle in Salem, Massachusetts.
Whoa.
And yes,
that sounds
beautiful.
Awesome. Honestly,
it really was. It was so shamanic.
like rhythmic. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
wait,
shamanic.
okay. I gotta hear this story. What was that like?
Oh, beautiful. We were in this green area right off the bay, and this woman facilitating it had these people kind of drawing circles around us in the dirt with sticks while she kind of held space and started saying these prayers. And then she would kind of stand in front of each one of us and give us a message. And for me, she was like, "You will find your people with this move. Like, this will magnetize all of the people that you need to find to you." And that has literally been what has happened. And I couldn't be more grateful for that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Super cool.
That reminds me of that. Remember, have you seen Color Out of Space?
I don't think so.
You remember that, Ryan? You know what I'm talking about?
Which part? You have to
the part like towards the beginning where the girl, she's like drawing the
and that's when she meets the guy. He like walks
exactly
the kid at the water plant or whatever.
It reminds me of that. I feel like that would be such a singular experience. Like you can't get that experience anywhere else. That sounds so epic.
Yeah. So quick little side tangent. Colonel John B. Alexander, who's the he's actually involved with the Monroe Institute, probably similar. I don't know if I haven't been to Monroe yet, but I'm sure it's like a similar concept to BPI. But the first time he ever came to our house, just in like an investigative capacity, he showed us these personal videos on his like flash drive, and they were things of him and his wife traveling the world, going on these bizarre esoteric adventures, like hiking 100 miles on horseback deep into the forest of Mongolia to meet like this very tiny exclusive reindeer shaman tribe and go spectate some of their secretive rituals. And like
it sounds like an anime.
Oh, it's real. Like I saw the videos.
That is sick.
And another one that he showed us that reminds me of what you just said was he also did kind of like a tour in Africa, like just going through indigenous tribes and learning about their cultures. And he actually showed me this on video. This was real. Like this is not like he told me about this. Like I saw this, and it was a drum circle. I can't remember what country it was, but it was definitely an indigenous tribe. And they had look, I'm a drummer. I've been playing drums for, I don't know how long now at this point on the spot, like 14 years or something like that. And I'd never heard anything like this. The way that their drums were, they were these natural, like animal skin, like really natural indigenous drums. And they had this precise rhythmic, It was, if I could explain it without sounding like a bunch of jargon, they had different tone drums, and they had this pattern where they would like drum in a certain way, and then they would create like inflection in it. It was like do 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 do, like going up and down, up and down, and it was so rhythmic that it like actually got them. He was explaining this to us as we're watching the video. It got them all in a trance. And there were these shaman type people who would get so deep into a trance. I saw this. They would take fire and torches in their hand, and they would put it on their mouth and put it on their eyes and all over their skin, and it wouldn't burn them because they were in such a high focus state. And it's like, there's some weird, really bizarre, but awesome stuff that goes on around the world that your typical 9-to-5 person has no clue about. And one of those things is drum circles, and they're badass.
Yes, that's incredible. And it just speaks to the power of the vibration and sound in general.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally about that. I have my little tongue drum right here that I
Nice.
doot on all day long just as therapy.
Yeah.
And
So
that's incredible. It does not surprise me. I fully believe that.
Where did you hear about this or see this, Ryan?
John Alexander, he personally was there recording it, and he showed us the video.
Oh, whoa, dude.
Yeah. And he has a website where he documents a lot of this stuff. And anyway, it's just, it reminded me of that when you brought up the drum circle.
That's so cool.
Universal drum knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many cultures that do that too. And the majority of them, if you read the texts, it's about like reaching a heightened state of like a higher spiritual state.
Yeah.
And it's so sick. But okay, I want to talk about astrology for a sec, because you completely melted my brain when you did my chart. Like, seriously.
And before you dive into that, I just want to say she did mine too, and it was equally mind-blowing. I just didn't take the notes. So I'm confirming to Nick, I'm confirming that Nick is not over-exaggerating here. She did mine too, but
not only was it the way that I resonated with my specific chart, it was also the way that you so eloquently kind of explained astrology as a concept. Like, you said this one thing that was so cool, and I've never forgotten it. And every time somebody asks me, this is what I tell them. So you said this was an analogy that you used for like your sun sign, your rising, and your moon. You probably know what I'm talking about. You said that your sun sign is your base. Imagine your astrology chart as a painting. Your sun sign is the base, like the base coat. Your rising would be your top coat, and then your moon is the colors that you choose to paint with. That stuck. Like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my God. Do you mind kind of explaining a little bit deeper what you mean by that?
Sure. Yeah. And, not every astrologer may agree, but that is definitely how I connect to astrology, where it is, you can look at any individual placement. So many people, and pop astrology focuses on the sun sign, but that is such a small sliver of who you are and what your chart says.
Yeah.
Your chart is your map for what you set out to do and be in this life. So when you're thinking about it, kind of like those layers, you can kind of see what elements affect different parts of yourself, and how, my Aries rising is different than somebody's Aries sun, and how everything kind of comes together to be its own unique composition of you.
Yeah, I feel like that is like the common thing when people think about astrology. It's like, oh, you're a Gemini, so that means that you're two-faced. And I also hear a lot of people kind of trying to use that sentiment to debunk astrology, like, oh, well, my friend is a Gemini and he's completely different than, my other friend or whatever. But what you're explaining is it's almost like your sun sign is like a mold, or like a template or something.
Kind of like a container for everything else to kind of come in.
See, how do you do that? How do you do that? Like, you're good with the analogies. Like, you're sick with the analogies, because I don't know. To me, I relate with analogies. If somebody breaks something down to me in an analogy, like, that's really the only way I'm going to absorb it. And who else is very good at that? Episode came out today. Amy
I was
illuminating
watching
joy.
it before joining.
She's just incredible. Shout out to her. But you two remind me so much of each other because of that. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on, because like the eloquence, you know what I mean?
That's a huge compliment. Shout out Amy.
Shout out Amy.
Shout out
Shout out
Amy.
Amy. She's truly amazing.
This episode will come out like mini spaced between that, but just so people aren't confused, the day that we're recording this is the day that Amy's episode came out. So
Right. Another serendipitous synchronicity. Come on now. We're really doing some magic here, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna
all we
blow
do.
through. Yeah, that's all we do. That's what we do. That's what we do. We make magic. I'm gonna blow through a couple more of these real quick, just so that people can realize how completely astounding this is. Okay, so with my Virgo, which was my moon, you kind of explained intellectuality, methodical, but because my Virgo moon was in the 11th house, it's focused on friendship, being a community organizer, which like that is insane, and a delegator. And honestly, the delegator thing I really resonate with, because I love telling Alex what to do. I really love that.
Doesn't mean I listen.
Yeah.
That's completely true. And another thing, so actually, something I want to go into real quick is something that I learned from you is about conjunctions.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind kind of giving a brief explanation on what conjunctions are in a chart and what they might do or what they might mean for your chart?
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not certified in astrology, but from my understanding,
That doesn't
You're
matter.
you're OMI certified. You're Bledsoe said so certified. Okay,
All right.
we got readings from you.
Hear
and
that? Here I come, Norwalk.
No, that's you're onto something there. I'm gonna start.
She's
running with that.
certified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certified.
So a conjunction is when two celestial bodies are interacting with each other in a close manner. Like we just had a Jupiter-Venus conjunction. You could literally see it in the sky, where we had Jupiter and then Venus right below. So when those things happen, you kind of get a very unique cocktail of those two planetary energies coming together. And it also depends what sign that conjunction is happening in.
Like
So-
what sign is in, like what, because there's kind of seasons with signs, is that right? Like there's like, we're currently in the age of what? Is it Aquarius or is
Yeah,
it
so that's kind of separate from well, that is obviously a part of astrology, but
Mhm.
when we talk about, what a planet is in, they're always moving in, a clock face. If you look at like an astrological chart,
Mhm.
the top half is the above the horizon and the bottom part is below it.
Uh-huh.
So each of those segments, of the 12 houses can be assigned to a sign. For each individual's chart, it just depends on when they were born, where they were born. But there are overarching, like you said, like we're in the age of Aquarius now. So we were in the age of Pisces. As a collective, we've moved into the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. It totally does. And I think you also explained in that video that you sent me that when a conjunction happens, it can kind of magnify some of the traits of some of those signs or celestial bodies. Is that right too?
Yes, depending on what planets are in conjunction, they can either amplify or be detriment to each other.
That's
So
right.
there's so many different combinations of what can be going on. That's what makes it so exciting, and that's what makes it so hard to learn.
Yeah. Well, there was some sort of conjunction in my chart with my sun and moon. And what you kind of gleaned from that was a strong ability to communicate clearly. And I think I'm pretty good at that. I think I'm that's one thing I'm decent at. So that like really kind of stood out to me. And then this is where I really started to my jaw started to hit the floor. With my Saturn in Pisces, you said that I kind of have a slow or methodical acceptance of esoteric concepts. Ask Ryan. We've been friends a long time. I ask a lot of questions, dude. Am I lying, Ryan?
No, not at all. And I would say like it wasn't until recently till you started, and I say recently meaning like the last 4 or 5 years, like really started to come around to a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember, way back in the day, even after the first experience with the lady, I was like, huh? Like what does any of this even mean? Like, how is this possible? And you're right. It was only within the past probably 3 or 4 years that I started resonating, or this stuff started resonating with me. And I was like, damn, there's probably something to this. So that was kind of insane. And the next thing in the Saturn and Pisces was kind of a thirst for knowledge, which I definitely would say I have, and a level of guardedness, which I feel like is a more recent thing for me, because I feel like lately I kind of protect my peace a lot. Does like
It's
or my
interesting
energy.
that you're around 27, right?
Yeah, I'm 20. I'm about to be 29.
Yeah. So Saturn actually just entered Pisces. So it makes so much sense that those energies are being amplified for you right now. Like literally yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
What's the deal with these 3 back-to-back full moons? Have you heard about that?
3
Apparently
back-to-back full moons.
Yeah, that's what my wife was telling me, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't even know if this is possible, but apparently we've had like 3 nights of full moons in a row. Is that real?
I think that it may appear full, and to Jenny's credit, she's absolutely right that the energy of a full moon is active the day before the full moon, the day of, and the day after.
Okay.
So, and
And
it
it's
will
like
appear in the sky.
it's like
as
something
full.
she read. It's not like she's like a expert in this field or anything like that. Yeah, we don't really go that deep into astrology, but
I'll have to look into that to see
please
what's going
do.
on. Maybe the Earth's rotation is slowing down or something.
I don't know. Yeah.
We went out on the back porch yesterday and looked up at the moon, and there was like a massive halo around it. Like
I love
huge.
when that happens.
It was like
witness me.
Yeah, exactly. It was the spray paint. Yeah. It looked like it had like an energy field around it. That's what I like. That's what I felt. I was like
a little halo.
Exactly. It was weird. Okay, this is the last one, okay? This is my 10th house, and this one was the home run. You gleaned that with my 10th house placement, I'm good with portraying ideas in a way that's easy for people to understand, and I serve as a filter for complex esoteric concepts and relate it to other people. That's literally like the only thing I do on this show. Like, like seriously, Ryan.
And that was before I was really watching. I tried to stay away from the podcast, to not interfere in my intuition, and that's so funny that's
I wish I took notes on my reading now. I feel left out.
You should still have the recording. I can get
I do.
it to you.
I can't remember if it's in our DMs or if it's email, or I'll have to find it. I need to
I'll find it. It's
been like a year. And it's like a 10-minute very thorough video. By the way,
and I can always record new ones too.
I wanted to ask you, are you done with your
yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I wanted to ask your opinion on this. I've been seeing this for months now, and my intuition tells me it's very significant. Again, not coming from I 100% believe in astrology, but I don't like have any I don't have any illusions about like being an astrologer or anything like that. I've been hearing that this month, for the first time in 225 years, I think it's Pluto is entering Aquarius, which is supposed to be really energetically significant. Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, yep. This is a huge thing in the astro community right now. Everyone's kind of excited for it. With Pluto, we can have our generation is, Pluto in Scorpio. So our relationship with Pluto is, 8th house stuff, which is like esoteric concepts, taboo topics, human sexuality, things like that. So with that entering where it is, it's just going to amplify those things in our society So it is definitely a very pivotal moment. That combined with the ingress of Saturn into Pisces, those two things happening almost at the same time as far as the universe's clock is concerned are pretty huge energetically.
Meaning, like, if I heard you correctly, and God, I hope I did, you're saying that the Pluto entering Aquarius at this time is indicative of like a more widespread acceptance potentially of like esoteric and occult concepts?
Exactly, because Pluto is uncovering, and that's what Aquarius also does. Aquarius is like these higher thoughts. Like if you've ever met somebody who has a lot of Aquarius placements, they're going to be the type of person that entertains, nuts and bolts UFOs,
I think my mom might
interdimensional
be in
UFOs.
Aquarius. Maybe I'm making that up.
Yeah.
When is Aquarius? What month?
Aquarius is end of
My mom's birthday is January 21st.
February. Yeah, end of January into February.
So 21st, does that count? Is that like
I
a
think so.
cusp or whatever? January 21st?
Cusps are really a thing, but
Not really a thing? Okay.
Yeah. Like once you move out of a sign, you're not really into. So don't hate me, internet. But
We're debunking that, y'all.
Yeah.
We ain't doing no cuss.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure my mom's in Aquarius.
You said January
Yeah.
21st?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
In Aquarius?
Yep.
Cool.
Nice,
Isn't that
nice.
funny that my dad, had this experience with this like blonde-haired lady that was like, oh, we're entering the age of Aquarius. His wife's in Aquarius. Like,
Yep.
Isn't that just so poetic?
Yeah, your whole family has things like that, with Teddy being a Taurus. Like those things blow my mind. I really have to dig into Junior's chart. I was supposed to do a reading for him too, and it just gets deeper each time I look at it, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, I'm always down to learn more. Trust me, I'm like spending my whole life trying to see the significance of things. So like, you're never bothering
Yeah.
me with that, I promise.
Well,
But,
great, I'll blow you up.
You will find me.
You will find me. Quote of the session.
I love that. That's funny.
Yeah.
You will find me, and likewise to you. You will find me fascinated in esoteric astrological information. So
Perfect. And
hey,
yeah. Mhm.
That brings up a cool point. Have you heard of esoteric astrology? It's
we
a-
talked, and to his credit, we talked about it like briefly one time. So we've barely covered it.
Mhm. And we
Um,
don't know much about it either.
Yeah.
So
it is so deep.
I've not heard so much about esoteric astrology myself, but intuitive astrology,
Mhm.
definitely, that just kind of combines like energy work with astrology, which is what I do, which is why when I look at a chart, it's not necessarily reading the most prominent placements, but what wants to be seen and heard at that moment.
like
And
the
that's how I give you
context.
those readings that like blow your socks off. Yeah. Mhm.
Damn. Okay, so energy work.
Mm.
I'd love to talk about that if you're down.
Oh, yeah.
What sort of energy work are you drawn to?
For me, it's a lot of visualization.
Okay.
That's what I was trained in at Boulder Psychic Institute. And that's kind of where, being primed with that type of work from childhood with my mom.
All right. Yeah. How long were you at the Boulder Psychic Institute?
I was there for about a year and a half. I took a little hiatus, and then I'm going to go
Whoa.
back to,
It's like almost a
go into.
master's degree.
Yeah.
You're like a wizard or something. You're like a sage. You're like a sage. I just imagine you. I imagine you in like full like Harry Potter like house uniform, just like studying in the library. You're a Ravenclaw, dude. Are you a Ravenclaw?
I don't really know at this point. There's been some Hufflepuff in the past. I don't know if that's just because I'm a stoner who loves food, but
Let's go. You're giving me Ravenclaw vibes, and I mean they're they're in the astrology tower. That's where their dorm is. So come on now. But sorry, I derailed you. Energy work. My bad. My bad. I'm excited.
No, I have ADD. I am ready to ride any tangent you throw at me.
Let's go.
But yeah, just a ton of visualization with specific techniques of, incorporating, sacred symbolism such as the rose. We use a lot of bubbles that you've heard me talk about, where it gives you a nice little container to do your thing in, to heal yourself, to manifest within. And hearing Amy talk about the manifestation, it was so validating that the concepts that she has, done her whole life, like it's real. Like it translates to all these different modalities. So
Wow.
very cool stuff.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
amazing. What's this bubble concept that you're speaking about? The bubbles thing.
Yeah, so when I manifest, the visualization aspect of that, I place it in a bubble. And this is something I learned at BPI, so got to give credit where credit's due.
Okay.
But you kind of envision, like she was using that example of like Superman flying over the water, like whatever
Right.
your manifestation is, you visualize it in this bubble of neutrality, and you observe the colors that are in that bubble with your visualization. And we're trained that, opaque colors are foreign energy that may not belong in our space, so we allow it to clear out of that bubble through grounding that manifestation. Translucent colors are our own energy, so we can look at those and amplify them. And then a lot of this bubble work involves what I call the supreme being or God. So we get them involved, they give it a little kiss, you look at it, make sure that you're ready, you like how it is, you slap a little, I want this or better onto it, just so you're not limiting yourself.
Cover your bases.
Exactly. We fling it out to the edge of the universe and
How was it that Amy said, in a way that pleases me?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And just
Have
off the top of my head, sorry, not to cut you off, but for
No,
the
that was
listener
good.
who's, I only say this because I know this, like being poked and prodded by the general public since I was a kid. And there's a lot of people who hear what you're saying and they think about it very literally.
Yeah.
When you say the supreme being gives it a little kiss, you obviously mean this is what you visualize in your head, correct?
Yeah. I
Okay,
envision like a golden light coming and enveloping that bubble and blessing the manifestation and
Okay.
kind of giving it like not a seal of approval in a sense, but back me up on this if it aligns with me, and then you release it and what will be will be.
Cool.
Dude, you know what's really blowing my mind right now? And I'm going to do something I haven't done in a long time. Steven Universe.
Oh yeah.
In Steven Universe, the way that he saves a lot of these crystals or these like crystal consciousness beings, he puts them in a little bubble and then he gives them a kiss to heal them, and he puts them and he sends them away.
There you
Come
go.
on.
So tapped in that show.
It really is. It so is. Okay, so that's really dope. That's a cool I haven't heard that bubble technique before. I
definitely recommend, look at my resources about grounding yourself, learning how to read your own energy. Just because, when I talk about like, oh, is this foreign energy? Is this mine? Doesn't mean it's like bad energy. We just have, places and traumas and experiences where external energy can stick to us. So if you see those in your manifestation, don't think that it's ruined or anything like that.
Wow.
What is your do you have any experience on Reiki at all? Any sort of experience with that?
Funny, because I was actually last week supposed to be trained in my first Reiki attunement, but I
feel like I remember you saying that in the Discord. That's why I had just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'm still moving forward with that. I feel like, and my mom has this too, where people will tell us that they feel the energy from our hands when we're like rubbing their face. And everyone has energy. That's where your most important, one of your strongest chakras are in the palms of your hands
and your feet.
Yep.
The Egyptian. That's why grounding works.
Exactly.
Whoa.
There's chakras in the hands and feet. Yeah. That's why mudras work, bro.
Yep.
Because you have chakras in your hands.
And that's why that's why Naruto can run on water.
Yep.
I guess. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah. That's so wild.
Yeah, and I am going to be doing that, and I feel like that's just going to be an amplification of what this work does, and it's really
absolutely
speaking the same language.
It's just a tool belt, and you're expanding that tool belt. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm very fascinated by
Reiki. Could you explain what Reiki is? Like one of y'all or both of y'all or whatever? I don't know much about it.
Up to you, Alyssa, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, sure. And if please add to this, but from my understanding, it's an attunement of a certain lineage of practice of energy work. It originates in Japan, and it's taught all around the world. And Reiki itself is the energy that comes out of the practitioner's hands and goes into the energy field of the recipient. And it is this all all-knowing energy where you don't have to be looking for anything to heal. The
It's like
Reiki
chi.
will go. Exactly.
It's exactly like chi, but
Yeah.
Whoa.
chi is a Chinese word, and
Yep.
I don't remember the name of the guy, but there was a Japanese guy who
Yes.
like went up a mountain, went on some like extensive meditative retreat, and basically came back down with the knowledge of Reiki. And
Yep.
he was revealed. I don't remember exactly how he was revealed them, but he was revealed these like universal symbols that are like energetic flows, I guess. And like that's why you see these common Reiki symbols. And they mean different things like power, healing, wisdom, whatever. So the Reiki practitioner will either draw these symbols or they'll like make them with their hands. And it's all about cultivating this, you know, even though it's a Chinese word, it's easier to understand, this chi type, all encompassing force that's all around us, and just pushing it energetically into the recipient and clearing their energy field.
Yes. Exactly. Yep.
Whoa. That is
I'm all about Eastern stuff. I really believe I probably was like a monk or something in a
Hey,
Yeah.
Vincent said you were.
Yeah,
I
Vincent
know.
confirmed that. For
Yeah.
you.
But I mean, like,
believe it.
you know, I'm so fascinated by Eastern techniques.
Yeah, they really have not been, subject to the suppression that Western civilizations have been.
It's just accepted in the East.
Exactly. And I personally believe that Jesus in his, years of, missing from, when
30
he was younger.
years
Yeah.
however much
He's
it
in
is.
India.
100
learning
points to
things.
Ravenclaw for bringing up my favorite esoteric name.
What, Jesus?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was out there getting ripped, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
what
could-
was your
Yep.
quote? He's the most bad to the bone sage that ever
he's the
lived.
he's the most bad to the bone sage that ever lived. It's true.
That's it.
Bro,
Yeah.
spoiler, because we're doing a Theosophy episode soon. They're all about him.
Oh yeah,
It's like the deepest occult secret. They believe in the coming of Christ. Like that's,
Yep.
Anyway, tangent.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just that he is he's probably the most, well, maybe not the most, but one of the most prominent figures that was considered to like carry the Christ consciousness. Because you
Yes.
got Jesus, you got Buddha, but Jesus, I mean Christianity, it's it's not
Yeah, that's a separate thing.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
I'm not pushing Christianity.
no, but no, we got too much trauma for that. But
Enough for 10 lifetimes.
exactly, yeah, no, we're good on that. Yeah. So that the Christ consciousness thing, though, that's I can get behind that. You know, the parallels between all the different esoteric and exoteric religions. It's like, the Bible's got some cool stuff in it.
Dude,
Yeah.
honestly, like the deeper you get into the literature of these esoteric schools of thought, like specifically here talking about Theosophy, it's crazy what they believe, because they believe that the Buddha and the Christ are actually two different offices. And when combined, they form the third most supreme office, which is known as the Maitreya, the world teacher. And they believe that the Christ is the love of the supreme God being, and the Buddha is the supreme wisdom of the God being. And the Maitreya will incarnate in the age of Aquarius, which is the combined energies of the Buddha and the Christ office or position, which will usher in the age of Aquarius. Deep shit, bro. But like, that's what I'm saying. And I'm sorry to derail your episode, Rose, because this is about you, but you know how we do our tangents on this show.
I am
But,
here for it.
so yeah, it's like,
Whoa.
coming from somebody who like has been, I feel like there's levels of initiation into conspiracy theories. And again, I say this from personal experience. This is my experience. It starts off at some point, people realize like there's secret societies, there's Freemasons, there's Illuminati, and like you think it's all bad, right? You think it's all devil worship. And then like when you break past that veil, you realize like some of the secret societies are good. And like there is some alternative knowledge out there that's not evil, like they teach, in like very old fashioned Christian schools of thought. And like coming to find out, like people like the Rosicrucians, they have this incredible ancient knowledge. Masons, I'm not crazy about them. I think they messed up their personal image a little bit too much. I don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole. But like my point is, it used to be everybody was like they're Luciferians, they're all in devil worship, and then you read their text, bro, and you like actually read their texts, and it's like Christ consciousness is
They're
coming.
chill
back
as
to wake
fuck,
us all up.
bro.
They're chill as fuck, and they
They're
believe
chill-
in light, and they believe in Christ. That's the mind blowing part.
Yeah, exactly.
I've spent like 15 years studying this stuff, thinking it was evil, and then you open their books, and it's all about Christ, and it's like,
Yep.
Yo, you sound like
You're
you're
so
about to hit
stupid as
somebody,
a
dog.
And it's all intentional, because if you knew
It's
that you could
frustrating.
access that, they'd have no mechanism to control you through.
It's like you go to church, and it's like you gotta, once the Apostle Paul's writings came around, it's like you gotta get prostrate on your hands and knees. You gotta choose to suffer. You gotta worship God, and you gotta believe in Him as this pagan deity. But then when you open the Rosicrucian text and stuff, it's like, nah, bro, you are Christ.
Yes, exactly.
You are. We all are,
Yes.
dude. Chill.
Yep.
Chill,
That's
bro.
what Christ consciousness
love
is
it.
all about.
Yeah.
That universal love of self and forgiveness of
It's hype.
whatever may cut you off from that.
By the way,
Damn,
we talked
dude.
about Salem. Didn't even mention my black cat DDs on the.
Yeah. She's just kicking it. I saw her.
I love her
standing up
collar.
behind
Very
Yeah.
fancy.
Oh yeah, my wife buys all the collars. I let her dress them up however she wants.
Good taste, Danny.
She a little cutie. Hey, I had another question. I'm curious. Were you into the UFO UAP type community before finding the show or finding the Bledsoes, or what's the
Yeah.
story with that?
So I found you guys because my friend Meg, she's Mego Potato in the
Shout out
Discord.
Meg.
Shout out Meg.
Yeah,
my
shout out.
Big shout out,
In the
Meg.
Discord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So she visited me, and she knows I'm into all of this stuff. And
Mhm.
she was like, "You need to hear this man's story, talking about your father,
Wow.
Ryan."
That's humbling.
And once I did, it was very similar to my experience with my version of the lady was Isis.
Mhm.
Just being shown the universal vibration of love and playing with that, like painting things pink. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But with that, my family has had ET experiences, specifically my sister, where when we were growing up in a town called Londonderry, New Hampshire, which has its own hauntings and shit going on there. She saw
With a name like Londonderry, yeah.
Yeah. The Shire.
Londonderry.
Yes, we'd always have supernatural experiences. When me and my sister shared a bedroom, we would share dreams. We'd wake up at the same time and be like, "Did you see that?" And like, "Yeah," and then just go back to sleep because it was so normal.
You get desensitized.
Yes, and she had a really unfortunately traumatic experience where she was in our bedroom alone, and our vanity mirror faced the windows of our bedroom, and she saw what I think is some kind of extraterrestrial. She described it having very thin gray skin. You could see the ribs, and it was just kind of hanging out by our window. So we've always been aware of this type of stuff. I have not had any encounters that I remember, but we would see, things in the sky. I remember being little with my mom in the car, and we just saw this red orb like fly across the sky in front of our windshield as we were driving down a road. So they've definitely always been there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So wait, did you have like an experience with the lady or with Isis? You mentioned Isis.
Yeah, mine was initiated through a 7-gram mushroom trip.
Let's go.
But
go.
yeah,
Wow.
that's the last time I did mushrooms. It was the most I'd ever done. I was like, okay, I literally learned everything I wanted to. Thank you. But yeah, it is a lot.
That's a lot. That's like
That's a
above
lot.
a heroic dose.
Yes.
I told you were a sage.
Yeah, and it was
Whoa.
very incredible. It was the most beautiful experience of my life, where I was seeing the different layers of dimensions. Like I'd see hieroglyphs, and then I'd see sacred geometry, all like these translucent sheets in front of me. And I was looking out at the sky over the mountains, over the Rocky Mountains outside my window, and the clouds started shifting. And I do a lot of cloud scrying. I've talked about it before in the Discord.
Yeah, you did like yesterday.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I had Isis appear to me, as well as Archangel Michael and Bastet, the cat goddess of Egypt.
Yeah.
So they were showing me how to actively use the vibration of love to alter my reality. And I was literally looking at a building, painting it pink, seeing people on the street, enveloping them in the color pink. And it was like I had lenses on. It was such a vivid color. And after I was coming down, I just started sobbing so hard as I released lifetimes where this was just not allowed to be expressed in any way.
You know who you are?
Oh.
You're Glinda the Good Witch riding around in a pink little bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. AKA Ariana Grande.
Hey,
She-
hey,
take it.
yo, for real, I was riding in the car with my wife the other day. I don't even remember where we were going, and we were just on a road trip. Maybe it was in Utah, and we were talking about that. And I said, Jenny, how crazy is it that my queen is the one who is depicting this goddess who rides around in orbs? You know, because that's like, when you think about it, it's funny. She rides around in an orb, and like my my family were the orb people. And of all the actresses or whatever they picked in the whole world, it's my queen.
I love
your
it.
queen.
Whom I sent
Your
for.
queen.
Oh,
Okay.
dude, we already know. Come on, it was like episode 5. I confessed how very
You
seriously
manifested that,
I'm
bro.
into Ariana Grande, and then I like never talked about it on the show again. But come on now,
So
I
you're gonna
love
manifest?
that.
You gonna manifest meeting her?
yo, I'm telling you, man, her
He's
working
husband,
on it.
her husband has these. I think he has the same birthday as me.
No, I'm
husband?
telling you, you got to put
Yeah,
those skills to
so
work.
in other words, I have a shot.
Yes. Yep.
What is Jenny gonna think about this?
Jenny's
involved.
I told her, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I told her the
Hey,
same thing.
That's between y'all. That's
It's
between
either,
y'all.
it's either the same birthday or I know he's a Leo. So, you know, it's the same year
Mhm.
too. Come on now.
I didn't
That's
even-
so funny.
That's so ridiculous. I
I
love,
love
that you called her
that.
your queen. That's so hilarious.
You have your princess and your queen.
Yeah, my wife is my princess.
Exactly.
Oh,
Okay,
I love that.
I have another fun question that I'd like to
Yeah.
ask, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Are you into witchcraft?
I am. I'm a
You
witch.
wanna tell me about it?
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who also practice witchcraft, and it's so cool and it's so wild, the stigma that's been placed on it. And so I'd
Mhm.
love to hear you talk about it. Let me shut up.
Yeah, no, I love how witchcraft can be whatever you want it to be. Again, not everyone who is more into the traditional practices may agree with that, but anything can be witchcraft with intention. I myself, I identify as a kitchen witch, so that means, you know, when I'm cooking, I'm actively putting intention into the food. I'm using my energy work to infuse certain vibrations into what later is consumed. I'm communicating with the animals that have provided me with what I'm consuming, things like that. That also kind of falls into like green witch territory where you start talking to plants and things like that. You also
That's
have like,
epic.
yeah, ceremonial magic, which involves the use of like altars and specific you know, movements you go through.
Bro, Dionysus was into that. Dionysus
Yeah.
was all about that.
Shout out Dionysus.
Shout out Dionysus.
I had wine on my altar earlier.
Let's go. Let's go. That's
Yes.
so sick. And the cooking thing I resonate with a lot too, because I feel like, so I cook pretty much every day and I've done it for a long time. I love cooking, but like I feel like when I cook, I go into a trance.
Yes.
I kind of like, I've gotten to a point where like I don't have a single thought in my mind when I'm cooking. My hands are just moving,
Just
and
flowing
like,
with it.
oh, it is weird to me. And so you saying that, so define for me, like, you know, there's obviously this crazy wild stigma about witchcraft, that it's evil and it's dark and it's whatever. What is it to you?
To me, it's just a way to connect with all the different aspects of myself and bring those into my physical reality. For
Like
my highest good.
manifestation, kind of.
Exactly. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what I was going to say, that, you know, the energetic work that I do translates to the witchcraft, and you know, vice versa. And there are just so many different paths you can take. You know, some people do, you know, participate in hexing and cursing, but you know, that doesn't necessarily
That's
make
dark shit.
yeah. I don't
See,
like
if
to do that because of the karmic implications of that
Mm.
kind of work. And same with like manifestation. Like if you're manifesting, oh, I want, you know, Johnny to fall in love with me, like that's gonna fuck you up karmically.
Mhm.
So just having, you know, being aware of the energy and knowing that it can be worked with on any degree of the spectrum from dark to light. You know, some people choose to go a little darker, some people don't participate in any kind of, you know, shadow work or and you know, shadow work is just like self-reflection truly. But you know, there are so many different degrees of it, and I think the stigma comes from centuries of trying to oppress people from the true power that we are, you know, as humans are meant to access as a birthright for just being a human soul.
See, my take on witchcraft is it's like, and I don't mean to come off as like offensive or whatever, it's just my honest take. But my take on witchcraft is it's just like a bunch of labels thrown on like the already eternal Eastern meditation practices. And
Pretty
like,
much.
it's really just not necessary. You know what I mean? Like, cut
Oh,
straight to the
definitely
most
not.
efficient path. It's like spiritual role play to me. You know, and
It can
I'm just
be.
being dead honest.
There are people who are ceremonial. Oops, sorry for the
It's okay.
sirens.
It's okay. You
There
can't control it.
are.
How dare you?
Oh, Cat Hill!
It's the spirits. It's the spirits.
It's a ghost.
Yeah, and you're so right, Ryan, that it can be so performative in some senses. Like, you can have a ceremonial magician who's going through this elaborate ceremony and be so disconnected from the spiritual self. Just like you can have somebody who's like, oh, I'm just gonna light a candle here and, you know, say some words and we're good. Like, there are so many varying degrees, but what matters most is intention. And for some people, that extra bits, like for me, it's just fun. It's just a fun way for me to set up a pretty little
Like
space to
roleplay.
honor. Yeah, exactly.
So
Well, yeah, that and sorry, go ahead, Alex.
yeah, I'm gonna cut you off, Nick. I want to take it back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting because I think, like, kind of to Ryan's point, like, I feel like a lot of people participate in magical things without really understanding it. And I really like what you said about the food, because, you know, like, we're all told to stay away from processed foods because they're not good for you and they're not nourishing your body. And so, like, are they not nourishing your body because they're not good ingredients? And I think that is, you know, the practicality that's part of it. But is it the fact that the human element and the soul was completely removed in making that food product, that you're consuming this absolutely soulless piece of product and expecting it to nourish your body, as opposed to something that somebody put time and energy into making? And I'm like one of those people. I stumbled onto something where someone was like speaking positive manifestations into their water before they drank it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like one of those people who I'll pour something into a glass. Like, I try to only drink out of glass, and then I'll put it up in my windowsill and let the sun hit it for a little while and then come back and drink it or whatever. But I think, like, definitely, you know, I don't think it's a coincidence that, like, homemade food tastes good and also is much better for your body as opposed to something that was made by machines and absolutely devoid of human contact.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
a deep thought.
Food has vibration. And what you did with the water on the windowsill, that's witchcraft. That's witchcraft. Like, you don't have to call it witchcraft. It is, you know, that's just a label. Some, like Ryan said, it can just be a label, but your intention behind that is where the magic lives.
Yeah.
It's just like there's all of these different religions that are talking about the same thing, but they call them different things because they came from different parts of the of the world. If I'm not mistaken, witchcraft started in like with like the Druids. Is that right? Yeah. So I mean,
that in that part of the world, and then if you go to Africa, it's hoodoo and things like that.
And then in the East, you know, they got Reiki, they got, you know, they have all of the, it's the same stuff.
All tapping into that higher
Exactly.
power.
Oh,
exactly.
And I wanted to say, I saw this really cool thing. You know that Alex, in response to what you were saying, the Native American, a lot of Native American tribes, they believe that when kind of we as a human race kind of emerged, or our consciousness evolved enough, they communed with like the spirit of nature, and they were told that animal kind was put here to live alongside us, but also that they kind of give us their bodies as a blessing to nourish us. with with this kind of like social contract that we pay respect to their bodies before we consume them. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
have to, you know what I'm
No,
saying?
I'm totally on board, and like hunting and fishing, like
Right.
yeah, the same thing, and and I just think as long as you are like being sustainable about it and giving thanks,
Mhm.
that it's like that there's nothing more nourishing for your body than something that you went out, caught, you
Mhm.
know, like unfortunately took the life of, and then like ate like that. And that's kind of ceremonial in a way, but as long as
Mhm.
you're, respecting that and like being thankful for that's like giving so much to you and your body, not only, just nutritionally.
Mhm.
Exactly. And even if you're in a position where you can't source nutritious food, simply thanking what you are consuming with that intention, it does the same thing. Raises the vibration of what you're eating, has a better effect in absorption into your body.
The Rosicrucians teach actually putting your hand over the food and like
That's what I
blessing it with
do.
the energy from your palms. Yeah. But I
Really?
think
You do
like
that? You do that, Rose?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
That's like
so
it's,
that's
it's
sick.
like, ooh, and then you just think about whatever you want to infuse it. Sometimes it's like comfort if you have a little tummy ache,
Mhm.
whatever intention calls for.
one of the
Wow.
most profound quotes that I've ever heard that changed my life is from the Tao, which is like this ancient mystical Chinese philosophy, which is basically like, Buddhism type belief consciousness. There's this eternal consciousness force around us. And it's like the Tao, according to the Taoists, it's like when you name me, you've lost me. When you name the Tao, you've
Mm.
lost the Tao. When you try so hard to define it, you just fucked it up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to me,
Yo,
that's the most profound. Is that the Tao, the Tao of Winnie the Pooh?
uh-huh.
Yeah, we've talked about that on the show before. But
Yeah,
that's
dude, how about this? It has a Grays Creek Middle School tag on it.
oh man, you stole that.
You're
You're
never
lucky your
getting that
mom.
back.
His mom worked in the library, so he was probably
Yeah.
stealing books left and
Yeah.
right.
My
But
mom was the librarian
not
and she
having to
did it
pay
Gotta
the
like
use the
fine.
that.
plug, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's my whole thing is like,
Yeah.
I think it's important for people if they're open to more like advanced forms of spirituality. It's like just don't think so or anything really. Like this is
Yeah.
why I hate politics, because people are so quick to label themselves and then label others. And to me, that's like the lowest, just the lowest form of ignorance possible. We're living
Yeah.
in this completely devoid world of happiness and truth and awakening, and like we're on the cusp of reaching that point, and everyone's labeling each other and labeling themselves. And it's like, I think
Mhm.
what the Tao said is correct. When you label me or when you label God or the force or whatever, you lost it. So like that's my thing, is like whatever spiritual practice people are involved in, there's a lot of push I feel for this like left hand path, like, oh, I just learned the truth that I'm a spark of God. I am God. And it's like this total ego, like self-serving thing, but it's wrong. The
Right.
true enlightenment path is like you learn the secret that you are God. So now you become humble because you're
Mhm.
always in the presence of God, whether you're with other people, with yourself, or just alone in the forest, the chi and the trees and the waters and the animals. You're always in the presence of the divine spark of God. So that's why humility and the right hand path is most important. And that's my whole thing.
Yeah. It absolutely translates to my own personal practice as well, because I believe every single molecule, anything that has ever existed, we're all connected back to that
Sacred.
central source. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Damn.
profound.
Damn.
Hmm.
And also the thing that you guys were just talking about with like kind of blessing the food, which is so funny because we had to do that our whole lives. Oh, by the way, a fun little side note. You know how most people you're done praying over your food and then you say amen. My grandpa at the end of every prayer of my entire life, he would at the end of every prayer he would say play ball. Every, I don't, I
Play
don't know.
ball.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, play ball,
I
play
love it.
ball. Yeah, but anyway, the thing about blessing the food, just literally a couple. Actually, it was last time we were on the way back from Wilmington. Me and Casey were talking about this exact thing in the car of like the spiritual relationship that we have with the food that we're eating. And we were talking about how kind of like hopeless and sad it is that they make it so hard for us to source food that is in any way has like a personable, ethical treatment or whatever. And how I was talking about, like, man, it would just be so ideal if someday, like, I could source all my own food and know where it came from and pay respect to it and whatever. And it kind of felt a little hopeless, but the idea of thanking it anyway, no matter where it came from, and putting that energy into it, and then kind of forming an energetic bond with the food that way, that actually gives me a lot of hope. That's something that I'm going to implement into my daily practices, because I think that's important.
There's a SpongeBob episode about it.
Which one? Wait.
Magic
What?
Pots?
Dude, hold up. We've been referencing SpongeBob
The pretty patty.
The pretty patty.
No. The one when he's like, what's it, King Neptune? They're like in a competition, remember? And he's like cranking out like thousands of Krabby Patties, but SpongeBob's like tucking his in.
Yeah, kissing them. Yeah.
Treating it with love, and it tasted so good. It was like even the gods were shocked.
Yes. Yep.
Yo,
That's it. That's
what?
absolutely it.
Esoteric SpongeBob, bro.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
You have to.
I speak SpongeBob. That's my second language.
Same, 100%. I think that's just like the generational thing, because you're around the same age as us.
Am I allowed to
Yeah,
ask
I'm
what decade you were
31.
born in? Oh, cool. Yeah, so I'll be
Yeah.
30 in August. What? You were born
Yay.
in 90? 91?
91. Yep.
Wow,
Let's
same age as
go.
my brother. Okay.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
we all
Good
got
year.
the SpongeBob gene. Good year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we all
awesome.
got the SpongeBob gene.
We sure do.
We're
Bunch of
at an
the-
hour, by the way.
Oh.
So just before we like bounce out of here, is there anything that you feel like you haven't gotten off your chest?
Or you want to talk
And
about
anything important that you feel like, you're here now? Is there anything that you really want to talk about?
SpongeBob.
We've SpongeBob. What's your favorite episode? No.
I got a lot.
Honestly, we've touched on so much that I'm so glad I got the opportunity to bring to this platform, because I feel like a lot of people don't know how much control is, how much access is just at their fingertips for this type of stuff. It can seem like it's very far away, but we are literally human beings designed to do the things that we talked about today. So never forget that.
I really like your perspective. I think it's very valuable. And like this is like, to me, this is my dream coming true, because I always wanted to like, even at the conception of this show, I knew that someday we would have guests on when we got to that point. And like, this is awesome, because I feel like with each person we've brought on, especially lately, like with you and with Amy,
yeah.
it's like we're cementing in my mind what are like experts with these different viewpoints. Like Amy's the manifesting expert.
Yes.
You're really into manifesting, but like you're really so good at so many other things. And I feel like we're just like creating this cast of like spiritual heroes who like have a lot to offer everyday people. So like, thank you.
It's like the spiritual Avengers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are facilitating all of this. Everyone is literally magnetized to this space to speak because you guys have created it, and the people who need to hear it are going to. And this is a dream come true for me too, to be able to speak on these topics, without fear. That's a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
So thank you both, and you too, Alex,
come on.
off camp.
Come
Thank
on.
you.
It is completely our pleasure. You are the greatest. And also, like, we barely scratched the surface on multiple things. So please come back. Please come back.
Yes.
We got to do another one. This was too much fun. I cannot believe it's been an hour. I cannot believe
I
it.
know, it
know.
flew by. And
It's
yeah,
like-
anytime you need me, I'm here.
Hell yeah. You're the best. Okay. All right. You know how we end the show. Let's do it. All right.
All right.
But hang on, by the way, don't leave until, because we're gonna
yeah.
let it fade out, okay? And then
Okay.
we'll talk for a second after.
Sounds good.
3,
All right.
2, 1. Bye, guys.
Bye,
guys.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Peace.